First up this week is Queen in the Mud, written by Mari. It is 366 pages, $2.99, available on Kindle Unlimited. Here's the author's description. A girl suddenly vanishes from her world and finds herself drifting in and out of consciousness in a world of pure darkness. The only insight into her precarious situation is a prompt opening before her eyes indicating that the system failed to delete her. The doggedly optimistic and naive teenager Naomi is reborn as a monster into a fantastical world governed by the rigid rules of a suspiciously game-like system. A world full of magic and danger where the familiar mingles with the inexplicable. She finds herself deep in the bizzarre, savage forest of the unclaimed lands where deadly monsters prowl in the shadows just out of sight. After a close brush with death, any hope that this could be lighthearted adventure evaporates as she feels real pain for the first time. The realization sinks in as Naomi comes to terms with this not just being a game, it's her reality now. As of coming to grips with life or death survival situations she finds herself isn't enough, the description of one of her skills seems to be speaking to her. So there you go. The story shifts around a little bit, and it feels like an online serial story that was collected, edited, and published. Like many serial stories, there's not necessarily a overarching plot for the entire thing. It's more like a story that shifts focus as it goes, very slice of life. That doesn't mean it's not a good storytelling now. This story starts out as a re-monster story with main character reincarnated as a salamander. And the story just kind of follows her as she explores a little slice of this magical RPG fantasy world. Each tries not to gains levels to gains experience points to level rather. After a few monster evolutions, it shifts as the main character once again becomes humanoid, and then the story explodes into this much larger story with action, magical training, community, light town building, time travel, and some small adventures. It was generally fun to read the entire thing, and it was just kind of fun to kind of follow her adventure where each chapter led. And there were definitely like some very distinct story arcs in here. Where it's like, oh, this was like an arc, and this was like an arc, and you can tell like they're connected, but you could almost read them independently. On the game mechanics side of things, this is absolute RPG from the start. Lots of stats, character sheets, abilities, skills that go with use or applied skill points. There's also good magical training and minor 10 ability elements. Fun stuff with lots of show numbers. Overall, this is just a fun story, and it was almost great for me. A few little bits kind of took a little bit away from me, but very good. A bits of slice of life with serial formatting. Again, there are several plot lines that pop up and get resolved as you follow stories, several more that don't. You kind of like, oh, this is stuff that's going to be dealt with in the future. But overall, it was just a fun read the entire time, and I finished it in basically one sitting. So it's always a really good indicator that I enjoyed this a lot. So for me, gets the high score of the week, which is a 7.8 out of 10. That's Queen in the Mud with a high score that's really good with a score of 7.8 out of 10.